U.S. warships form a steel shield around a Philippine gas field, their imposing presence a clear signal to the world that this is no ordinary patrol. The stakes are higher than ever before. America is now openly challenging China over a $26 trillion energy treasure, an immense prize that could reshape the balance of power in Asia and beyond. This is more than a routine naval exercise. It's a high-stakes geopolitical chess match, with every maneuver in the South China Sea watched by governments and markets worldwide. Each decision could tip the scales toward peace or conflict. At stake is one of the world's largest untapped natural gas reserves, a resource so vast it could transform not only the Philippines' economy, but also shift global energy markets. For a nation long dependent on imports, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The Philippines now stands at a crossroads, caught between the ambitions of a powerful neighbor and the promises of a distant ally. The choices made here will echo for decades. For years, China's intimidation and aggressive tactics kept this treasure out of reach, despite international law clearly favoring the Philippines' claim. Filipino fishermen watched helplessly as foreign ships patrolled their waters. Now, the U.S. Navy has moved in, not just to observe, but to actively protect the exploration zone. Their presence is a game-changer, raising the stakes for everyone involved. American destroyers and cruisers, bristling with advanced weaponry, send a clear message: the rule of law will be upheld, and aggression will not go unanswered. The world is watching to see if this resolve will hold. For the Philippines, this could mean energy independence, new jobs, and rapid economic growth. But it also brings the risk of a superpower confrontation, one that could threaten regional stability and the lives of millions. Every move is scrutinized, every radio call analyzed. Newsrooms buzz with speculation, and military analysts monitor every signal. The world holds its breath, waiting for the next move. Is this a calculated bluff? Or is Washington truly prepared to stand its ground? How will Beijing respond to this unprecedented show of force? The tension is palpable. The answers to these questions will shape not just the fate of a single gas field, but the power dynamics of the entire 21st century. The world is watching, and history is being written in these contested waters. Beneath the West Philippine Sea lies an energy prize worth up to $26 trillion, more than the U.S. economy's annual output. For the Philippines, this gas field is a lifeline, a path to energy independence and economic transformation. International law and a 2016 tribunal ruling back the Philippines, but Chinese intimidation has kept the resource locked away. Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia have blocked every attempt at exploration, scaring off investors and enforcing an economic blockade. The gas field has become a symbol of sovereignty and the struggle of smaller nations against a rising superpower. The arrival of the U.S. Navy is seen as a potential game-changer, finally offering Manila a chance to access its own wealth. This is the context behind today's dramatic escalation. This week, the balance of power in the West Philippine Sea shifted dramatically, sending ripples across the region and beyond. A formidable U.S. carrier strike group now patrols the contested gas field, transitioning from routine freedom of navigation operations to a more assertive, static, and protective stance. The presence of these warships signals a new phase, one where the U.S. is visibly committed to defending its interests and those of its allies. The mission is clear: ensure stability, uphold international law, and create a secure zone for vital energy exploration. This show of force is meant to deter any attempts at intimidation or interference, providing a safe environment for economic activity. U.S. warships now actively patrol the perimeter, employing advanced radar, sonar, and aerial surveillance to monitor every vessel in the area, a steel shield against any form of interference or provocation. This marks a decisive shift from passive condemnation to active deterrence, offering reassurance to Manila and sending a clear challenge to Beijing's ambitions in the region. The U.S. move is a direct response to years of Chinese gray zone tactics, coercion and intimidation, just below the threshold of open conflict, tactics that have tested the patience of the international community. Now, China faces a risk it can no longer ignore. Any escalation or miscalculation could trigger a direct and forceful U.S. response, raising the stakes for all involved. For the Philippines, this new security umbrella could finally unlock long-delayed investment and exploration, offering hope for economic growth and energy independence. For China, it's a strategic dilemma. either back down and lose face, or risk a confrontation with the world's most powerful navy. For the world, this is more than a regional dispute. It's a test of America's commitment to its allies, the credibility of the rules-based order, and the future of peace in the Indo-Pacific. With the arrival of the U.S. fleet, a long-simmering regional dispute has erupted onto the global stage, transforming the South China Sea into a potential flashpoint for international conflict and cooperation. China's 9-dash line claims nearly the entire South China Sea, overlapping the exclusive zones of several nations. Despite a 2016 tribunal ruling against it, Beijing has built artificial islands and maintained a constant, intimidating presence. China's strategy, a layered approach, provides navy, coast guard, and maritime militia, asserting control while maintaining deniability. Chinese ships routinely harass Philippine vessels, using water cannons and dangerous maneuvers to block exploration. This war of attrition aims to wear down Manila's resolve and establish de facto control. The U.S. Navy's arrival directly challenges this strategy, presenting China with a force it can't easily intimidate. Beijing's state media denounces U.S. meddling, but the world waits to see if China will escalate or seek another response. Will China send warships, or find a subtler way to push back? The next move is Beijing's. The U.S. Navy's presence has reset the strategic equation. For Manila, the risk of Chinese harassment is lower. The reward, access to trillions in energy, finally seems real. China's low-risk, high-reward strategy is gone. Any interference now risks a U.S. confrontation. Other Southeast Asian nations are watching closely, considering whether this is a new playbook for countering Chinese pressure. The region faces a choice: embrace U.S. deterrence, or risk being caught in a superpower clash. The stakes are higher than ever. A single miscalculation could trigger a crisis. The struggle has shifted from a slow-burn resource dispute to a high-stakes standoff over international principles. Every move now carries global consequences. The South China Sea is a global artery. Over a third of world shipping passes through these waters. Every day, thousands of vessels carry goods, oil, and raw materials, connecting Asia to the rest of the world. The sheer volume of trade flowing through these narrow straits makes this region one of the most strategically important on the planet. Instability here could disrupt supply chains and spike energy prices worldwide. Even a brief blockade or conflict could send shockwaves through global markets, leading to shortages, inflation, and economic uncertainty for millions of people far beyond Asia. For the Philippines, developing the gas field could mean energy independence and economic stability. Access to local resources would reduce costly imports, create jobs, and help power homes and industries, fueling national growth and improving everyday life. For the region, it could lower prices and diversify energy sources, reducing reliance on the Middle East and Russia. Greater energy security would strengthen economies and foster cooperation among Southeast Asian nations, making them less vulnerable to global shocks. The U.S. deployment reassures allies, Japan, South Korea, Australia, that American security commitments are real. Joint exercises and visible presence send a clear message: the U.S. stands ready to defend the rules-based order and support its partners in times of crisis. China's aggressive actions have pushed neighbors closer to the U.S., undermining its Asia for Asians narrative. Instead of isolating outside powers, Beijing's assertiveness has united regional states in seeking external support and security guarantees. How Beijing responds will shape its reputation as a rising power. The world is watching to see if China chooses cooperation or confrontation, and whether it can balance ambition with responsibility on the global stage. A pragmatic response could ease tensions. Aggression would only justify the U.S. presence. Diplomatic engagement and compromise could open the door to shared prosperity, while escalation risks long-term instability. The world is watching to see if this becomes a model for regional order or a trigger for greater conflict. Every move is scrutinized, as leaders and citizens alike hope for peace, but prepare for uncertainty. The outcome will echo far beyond Asia. Decisions made here will shape the future of global trade, security, and diplomacy for years to come. For years, Manila relied on diplomatic protests to challenge Chinese incursions, efforts that changed little on the water. The Philippine Coast Guard was outmatched, and legal victories remained unenforced. Recently, Manila shifted strategy, publicizing Chinese aggression, rallying international support, and invoking its mutual defense treaty with the U.S. This groundwork paved the way for the current U.S. naval deployment, By inviting a visible American presence, the Philippines is betting on deterrence over appeasement. The public has rallied behind this bold move, seeing it as a stand for national dignity and energy independence. Critics warn of becoming a pawn in a superpower rivalry, but most Filipinos see this as a necessary risk. Manila has moved from passive protest to active, alliance-backed protection. The U.S. naval shield has electrified the global energy industry. For years, security risks kept investors away from the Philippine gas field. Now, with U.S. protection, energy companies are reassessing. Billions in investment could soon flow. The project promises jobs and contracts across Southeast Asia, spurring regional economic growth. But the risk hasn't vanished. It's shifted from commercial to geopolitical. Investors are watching Beijing's next move. Any sign of escalation could freeze plans. The fate of the gas field now hinges on military maneuvers and diplomatic statements. Boardrooms in Houston, London, and Singapore are tied to the actions of admirals in the South China Sea. The stakes for the global economy have never been clearer. The world's energy future is now linked to the outcome of this standoff. At its core, this standoff is about the power of international law. The 2016 tribunal ruling affirmed the Philippines' rights, but lacked enforcement, until now. The U.S. action is an attempt to turn legal principles into reality, defending the rules-based order. If powerful nations can ignore international law, global governance weakens and might makes right returns. The South China Sea is now a test case for the 21st century rules or raw power. Best case, China de-escalates, allowing exploration to proceed, a win for law and stability. Worst case, a naval standoff or economic retaliation, risking wider conflict. The world's eyes are on these waters where the next moves will shape peace, prosperity, and the future of global order. The outcome is uncertain, but its impact will be felt worldwide.